Hello. Hi, this is Rick Charles Muller, author of With the Assistance of Queen Anne, which will be part of the Strawberry One Act Summer Festival at the Rion Theater. Today is June 12th, and it's about noon. And this is entry one of a video journal capturing the production with the assistance of Queen Anne. We've known about a month that we've been selected for the festival. At this point, we don't have a director. The director, unfortunately, that we had hired right away had to take a job. So right now, there's only two actors cast. It's a three-character play. Queen Anne, David, and Evan. David will be played by myself, and Evan will be played by Orlando Rivera. Now, With the Assistance of Queen Anne is a story about two writers who are attempting to reveal the relationship between Queen Anne and Sarah Jennings Churchill in a novel named Queen Anne and Her Companions. Basically, they're trying to determine whether Queen Anne was a lesbian, whether they should include that in the novel, whether it should be an integral part. What was her relationship with Sarah Jennings Churchill? But what they don't realize is what is their relationship, and that's the plot. How does their truth reveal as the truth of Queen Anne and Sarah Jennings Churchill unwinds? Now, I'm not sure yet. This is a story whose ending will probably not occur until the play's produced and up and maybe even turned into a full-length play. This may be the first step of it. Because any journey has a beginning that you might not even be aware of. Because as a writer, I realize that my life is my canvas. It is where I begin and put down the colors that I eventually write about. In January, I was auditioning for my theatrical outreach company, Pride Not Prejudice. We do awareness plays in schools. At the time, I was casting a second cast for Ordinary Kid. And it was the Martin Luther King birthday weekend, and I had interviewed and auditioned 75 people, and I selected 10. I wasn't completely happy with the 10 choice. I think I was compromising on a few of them that I wasn't that sure of. But I went to my office to email the lucky winners, as it were, the ones that were going to be included in the company. And I got an email from a young fellow who had just moved to New York City, whose picture looked like he was 14 or 15, and I thought he was, and I just about deleted it until I read the caption that said, "I look 15, but I'm really 19. I called him, and it turned out he had just moved to the city that day and had dropped out of college because of financial reasons. He was going to a high-end college in Vermont, studying directing, and he was living in an apartment in Manhattan. He came, his first day, auditioned, and he was brilliant. He was a very gifted young actor, and I hired him immediately. And I also felt a bond that I didn't quite understand. I might be able to say it was sexual attraction. He was a very handsome, cute young man, or cute is probably a more apt description of him. I can't deny that possibility, but I felt something. A week later, ironically, a school had requested that I put on a show on Monday, and it was Friday, and it was another show, Message from Rhonda. So I told them I'd try to get a cast, and they gave me a couple hours, and I was able to get 3, but I was missing the lead, the young male. So I called Evan, and I asked him if he can possibly learn the part, get off book in one day, come Sunday, it was a Friday, rehearse the play with me, and then go on. He did. He was brilliant. And that sort of sparked my sort of trust and respect for him that continued to grow. He got another scholarship, went back to school, but continued in my company, sometimes taking the bus at 3 o'clock and getting into New York at 3 o'clock in the morning to do a show, and then traveling back to Vermont to make school the next day. He was a good actor, nice person, And I even felt a friendship blooming between us. We would go to shows several times. We had gone to shows several times by that summer. And I considered us friends. And he was even going to do a show for me, but we were going to put up one of my full-length plays that July of 2009, but he got cast in another play, and I wasn't really physically up to it because I was in the process of having surgery on a back injury. But at that point, I got one email and didn't hear from him for about 8 months when he called me in January telling me that he was back at school. He's sorry he wasn't in touch. He was busy. He got into show. I did see him. I did see his show. So I did have one conversation with him briefly during that period. But he joined the company again, and he would come down for more shows. Then I offered him a job of directing 5 shows that next summer, 2010. Actually, 2 of them were performance pieces, which he was the director, and the other 3 were full-length, were one-acts, where I was in them and he directed me. He did a brilliant job. But ironically, as the summer developed, the emotions between us, I felt, really grew. He shared things that he probably didn't share with other people. And we had a bond, an intimacy, that I can only describe as love. He filled a gap, and now I don't know whether that gap was loneliness, but there was such a strong feeling, and I felt it was mutual. We had a great summer, and I'm always grateful for those 2 months. It ended kind of strangely. This young fellow also was a playwright, and he had a play produced in a festival last year as well, and he did very well. And then the day he was going back to school, he was supposed to give me the 5 final drafts of the 5 plays that we had put up, and he hadn't completed them, but he promised me he'd do them in school, and even promised to help me edit a novel that I was rewriting. Well, he went back to school, and I never heard from him again until this point. I can say that the feelings that occurred afterwards were difficult, but I don't regret what I felt. And I don't really understand totally what I felt. So when I wrote Queen Anne with the assistance of Queen Anne, I was capturing those feelings. I was simultaneously last summer outlining the novel Queen Anne and Her Companions, which now I'm under contract to write. So this is an adventure. This is entry 1 of my video journal. Let's see what happens. Out for now, Rick Charles Muller.